attacked by a pack of dogs. But she said it's okay.
Cute.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, thank you for welcoming me to your beautiful home.
Thank you.
So, tell me about Meta. I know it seems pretty close and personal to you, so tell me about it.
So Meta is obviously a candle and fragrance brand. MetaMelbourne meaning metamorphosis. It was inspired, I suppose, at the start of 2020 when COVID hit. For Christmas, Adam actually brought me a candle making kit. And I was like, oh, I love this. And he was like, oh, it's a stocking filler. And I was like, this is so cool. And he was like, oh. And at the time I was working at Gucci.
Yeah.
And I was kind of sick of always traveling to Chadstone and things like that. But all I've ever loved my whole life was fragrance and words.
You said this started through COVID.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Pretty much every single person I've done a podcast with started a business has pretty much been through COVID. So it's crazy that such a bad time has gone to something actually really
I think
really good,
COVID
really
was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Yeah. Do you?
Well, for me personally as well, probably it did. I know this sounds sort of stupid, but just from having a small business, I had a lot of tax debt and stuff like that. I know it was really just got off topic straight away, but
That's fun.
I had a lot of tax debt and stuff like that from starting my own business because like obviously I started a business and I didn't know nothing. Like obviously I knew how to do my trade, but I knew nothing about doing my accounts and all that stuff. So I actually had like a $50,000 tax debt, and through COVID, having a small business, I got like all of these grants and like tax relief things, and that literally put me in the position to be able to get my tax all settled and purchase my first house. Really, like
Amazing, yeah.
because I had all this money, but I was like, I either buy a house, like I want to buy a house, but I got this $50,000 tax debt, so I pretty much got to spend my whole savings on paying a tax debt off. Like, and I was just like, I was holding on to it for so long. I'm like, I don't want to
avoiding.
I was like, I don't want to give away all this money I've been saving for the last 2 or 3 years to a fucking tax debt.
Of course.
So I was like, sort of just holding off, and then when COVID happened, I got those grants and I paid that off, and then I was actually able to purchase my first house. So.
Imagine you had paid it like the year before instead of holding off and having that avoidance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You would have then not had those grants, not paid that, and not had that equity.
Yeah, and because they were pure, like that one that I got was purely a tax relief thing. So like it wasn't like just money sent into my account. It was actually like just money that comes off your tax. So if I did pay that off,
you would have been ineligible.
Yeah. I wouldn't have had any. I wouldn't have had
How
any
funny.
Debt to pay off. So yeah, it really helped me. But sorry, go back on track.
No, that's fine. I felt the exact same. So yeah, I was at Gucci and Doc Martens. I was feeling a bit stagnant driving to Chadstone, working retail, and I don't know, with me personally, I think I've had over 25 or 28 jobs.
Holy shit.
So it was like I needed to work for myself.
Were they all like retail jobs or just like
no,
various?
I think I started obviously like McDonald's and then like Dippin' Dots and like doing ice cream or whatever.
Was McDonald's your first job?
Yeah,
that was my first job too, but it only lasted like maybe like 2 months. I remember it sounds really mean, but I remember not abusing but yelling at the lady. I called the manager a fat bitch. But she was she was a bitch, but I shouldn't have called her fat. But
correct. Yeah, you're like that's ineligible. Yes.
But yeah. Yeah, what other jobs have you done?
And then I think I would have to be honest, I've always had a very terrible work ethic, but I've always had a drive to work and succeed. So I don't know, I feel like I'm very much a contradiction in everything in my life. So I was always like, I want to be great and I want to be successful, and I'd do something for maybe like a month and I'd be like, fuck this. Nah, that, I don't want to work here, or I don't want to do this, or the hours are too long, or I'd just find something.
Yeah.
So then I went from all those into real estate. I worked at Marshall White, which is an incredible real estate agency. My sister's actually a director and a partner there now. I think that was in Armidale. I feel like I was surrounded by very successful, wealthy, driven, hardworking people in a really high tier.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I aspired to be that and I wanted that. But at the same time, it was a lot of sacrifice to be a successful real estate agent. You work your ass off all the time and a lot of different hours. And I was like, I want to travel. And I had obviously my mental health going on then. And I think I was too young. I think I was 18 or 19 in an environment surrounded by, you know, very successful and strong and powerful men and women
be very overwhelming.
In their 40s and 50s. Yeah. So then I went from that real estate agency to Buxton. Then I went to Jellis Craig. I went to Finnings. I went and did then I started just doing temp and contract work because I actually accepted within myself that I should stop getting hired because I'm not going to stay. Yeah. So I really shouldn't keep doing that to businesses because I'd go for a job and I don't know, maybe because I am well spoken or I'm well presented, I would kind of always get the job.
Yeah.
And then in my head, I'd feel kind of guilty, like they've gone through this whole application process and I know I'm not staying, you know? So I need to stop doing that to people.
I can relate. I feel like I'm like that with women and I've literally got to the point now of like, I'm not getting a girlfriend until I know that I'm completely ready because I've definitely been in relationships where...
You don't want to be in them.
Well, no, obviously, like you said, at the start you did, but then I'm like, after a little bit, I'm like, fuck, I'm wasting this person's time, but I also don't want to really end it, like sort of selfish.
Yeah, it's convenient. I'm making good money here. I've got a good thing going for me, but like I might call in sick at the first opportunity, you know what I mean? Like I'd be at work and like be messaging one of my girlfriends, like text me and say, you know, my dad died, like, you know, and I'm like, oh, I've got to go. It's been a really big accident. And they'd be like, oh, are you okay? And I'm like, I need the week off, you know, and then I'd be like, oh, I quit.
Any excuse.
Yeah, it's not a vibe. So I think that happened on and on and on. And then, I was kind of like in multiple different real estate agencies, temp roles, contract roles, went into Gucci, then I went into Doc Martens.
What was it like working at Gucci?
Gucci was incredible. I did client services and more back of house. I didn't work on the floor.
Yeah.
And then helped all of the sales associates, did uniform ordering and admin and store-to-store transfers and more so like the back end. But when I started, it was the time of the new Chadstone opening. And even just seeing what goes into a store, like the marble floors true and all the silk and all the setup and the way and things actually are handled, it's just a whole other world, you know?
Yeah. Is that where you got I see you got a lot of style in here. Did you get some stuff from working there?
No, I don't know. I think I've always had quite expensive taste or quite unique taste.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. I think that kind of came from growing up surrounded by some of the people my mum worked for and was close with who were quite successful.
Yeah.
And growing up and being like, I don't know, 9 or 10 and trying on like D&G dresses and being like, wow, you know, I remember knowing a lot of brands before even people knew what those brands were. And I remember always just wanting to be successful and always wanting to be comfortable. And yeah, I guess the paradox of that was, how am I going to do that when I don't have a good work ethic, but I want to work, you know?
Yeah. So that's what I mean. You got to find something you love.
Yeah. But and then
I think everybody's like that. They want to be rich and famous or whatever, but
I would never want to be famous.
They don't want to work for it.
But I'd like to be, you know, very comfortable, just so I could be present in what I was doing. I think some people want financial freedom, you know, to have all the materialism in the world, like cars or bags or boats or whatever. Not a lot of that very much appeals to me. Yeah. I would like the ability to be so comfortable that I can be present in every behaviour that I'm doing. So I'm not worried about the next thing or this bill or that objection or what if I want to take my children to India? Can we, you know what I mean? I just want to be able to be present in my life.
I'm 100%
with financial freedom.
Yeah,
I don't care what car I'm driving. I just want to not have to wonder, can I afford this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 100% the same. And there's definitely been heaps of times in my life, especially when we first moved up here to Queensland, there was the first 6 months were rough because I had all my money saved because I wanted to buy a house. And when I came up here, I come from working for myself and I had to go back to working for someone else. Mm-hmm. And that was the same. There was weeks where I was I couldn't even afford to go out for dinner and I was getting so angry at myself. I'm like, how the fuck can I be working 40 hours a week and I can't even fucking afford to take myself out for dinner tonight, and like it was so frustrating. It was like even like.
And at what age?
This is like when we just moved.
So you know what I mean. So what were you then?
29.
Yeah, and you're like, so where the fuck is everything gone from all the work I've done for all the years? You know what I mean?
Like,
you're like, why?
Yeah, even just something small, like I'll fucking go to the gym and I want to buy a protein shake after, and I'm like thinking about, like,
should I spend $22? Yeah.
Something ridiculous like that. But yeah, I know 100% you mean. You just want to be able to just do whatever
to be present. So like if someone says, oh, you know, we're going to Bali for a week, would you like to come? I can go, I can do that.
Yeah, you don't have to think about, if you can afford it or...
Yes. And I don't want to fly first class there. I just want to know I can, you know?
You just want to be able to get there. You just want to be able to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think that was always... Back then, I think my goal was more materialism. I think over the years and with maturity, I feel like, I think, I don't know, life humbles you as you get older, absolutely. I feel.
So that's what all of those jobs, all those things that you've been through, they create to the person you are today. And you sort of, if you didn't go through those things, you wouldn't know what you know now pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. So then when I finally started Meta, I felt like I had enough jobs and worked with enough people to learn enough about business, to learn enough about marketing, to learn enough about creativity, collections, you know. For example, when I introduced Meta, I did something like autumn, winter and spring, summer collections. And a girlfriend of mine, one of my biggest mentors, Hayley, owns a really successful business, Cleanse & Co, as well as Sol. Yeah. I don't know if you've heard of them, but... she's really highly successful in the candle industry and she mentors me quite heavily. And I remember her being like, I love that. I love that you do that. Like, that's so cool. Like autumn, winter, summer, spring. Like, you know, it's just so different. Yeah. And this is someone I aspire to be like, and I want my business to achieve the financials and the revenue and the employees that she can. So and she was complimenting me straight away. And I was like, wow, you know.
Are you doing everything yourself at the moment?
Yeah. And then I have staff now too. Yeah. Obviously, I think I'll quickly summarize. Started 2020. Adam brought me a candle making kit. Every fragrance in it, I was like, these are trash. My whole life, I've spent really good money on a fragrance. I think that I would spend any amount of money on a fragrance. And I was like, these are actual trash. Why is there no nice candle fragrances? So then I was like,
better ones than these.
Yeah, how can I make this better? So it was funny. Adam then broke up with me. We were in a relationship for 2.5 years before that. And our relationship was very turbulent. I feel like we loved each other. But he's very dominant, I'm very dominant, and neither of us give into power, ever, which is still how it is, which is not a vibe, you know. Someone's got to be submissive and someone's got to be dominant.
Someone's got to let that ego go.
Yeah, and that power shift, it literally cycles daily, constantly. So it's kind of like, back then...
making it work now, though.
We didn't, back then we didn't know how to respect that in each other. Yeah. Whereas now, like, Adam can know when it's important to me to win something or not so much win. It's important to me that he respects what I'm saying on something or vice versa. Whereas back then he would just blatantly no. And I'm back, but I'm fucking like, this is important to me. You're not listening to me. He'd back, no. So we broke up. And when he left me, I was in COVID. I'd lost my job. Before this, I had a business in Bali called Arenda, which was leather clothing. Yeah. And that was a stepping stone to here. And I did some stuff and shoots for that and had that over there. But again, it was offshore. So then that ended and I was kind of like, what am I doing with my life? So I enrolled into the Art of Olfactation, which was an LA institute. Yeah. And it was to learn fragrance. And I thought, cool, I want to be a perfumer. And when I enrolled, I was like, yeah, amazing. I think it was like $5,500. I was like, cool, this is perfect. Adam and I are broken up. I'm in COVID. You know, I can study. And
all this come from just this little candle kit?
Yeah, which was $38. It was a stocking filler. Adam got me, I think, maybe like a Dior or something else and really substantial gifts, and he got this as a stocking filler. Yeah. And it was my favourite gift out of everything I've ever been given. Yeah. You know, it's funny. Literally the most powerful thing I've ever been given by anyone.
That's so crazy.
And it's one of the cheapest.
And that could have just been something that...
I could have picked up and put down.
Yeah, and it was something that he might have just been like, he could have easily just been like, oh, fuck it, I'm not getting that one. Yeah. And that maybe never would have happened.
Correct. So or he could have just given it to me and I could have gone, oh, what about, like, you know, like when someone gives you like a pasta maker, you're like, learn to roll pasta and ravioli. I don't have time for that. I'm just going to buy it at the shop every week, you know? Yeah. And for example, like Fornacetti, that candle in the black vessel that I have sitting on my table, they're $1,100. And I'm willing to pay that for a candle. And I have another one on my side table or a fragrance like Tom Ford. Some of them are for $700. To me, I'm like, oh, that's
how long does something like that last?
About 200 hours. So if I'm burning that every day, 3 weeks? Yeah, but I don't burn that often because I'm like my baby, you know. But it's not uncommon, like at Mecca, for a candle much smaller than any of mine, even like a 200 gram candle, which is 30 hours from De Boutique, maybe $69, $79. Whereas I was like, why are they so expensive? But I guess it's a fragrance. It's a fragrance house.
Is it just like the Gucci thing? Like it's just the brand that is worth money?
And the fragrance. Fragrance is actually worth money. But I didn't understand that at the start.
Yeah. But obviously you're making nice ones that are cheap. Yes,
they're reasonably priced. I wouldn't say I'm cheap compared to the market.
That's what I'm saying. Compared to the
compared to them,
ones.
But then compared to a lot of other people who I guess are online with my amount of followers, you know, for example, like one of those I retail for $149, they're $229 or $169. People are still like, that's expensive for a candle, but I don't know why. I sell out of those every single month, and I have for 12 months now, and they're constantly on
There's always going to
pre-order.
be people saying shit and just kick them to the back burner.
Yeah, but for some reason I was like, can I price a candle at $150?
You've got to set a standard for yourself.
Exactly right. You have to know your worth.
Yeah, and not only that, these are like beautiful. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
And you've created these yourself.
Yes.
So it's not like you're just getting something cheap and just like
Drop shipping and putting a label on it.
Yeah, this is like something personal to you, and you're making yourself. It should be worth what you want it to be.
Yeah, thank you. But I think I got into the LA Institute, and it was quite profound because then I enrolled, and it was I think it was 3 days a week, and it was 4 p.m. till like 9 p.m. and I was like, perfect, that's great. But I didn't realise it was in LA time. So when I actually started the course, it was like 2:15 a.m.
How did you do it?
I just enrolled.
Yeah, but what is it?
Online via Zoom.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And then they send you like a
completely
kit.
different.
Of course, but I didn't know. You know, I thought when I read it, it would have translated to Melbourne time. So I paid it all.
Yeah,
and
so
I
you're
was
doing
like, cool.
things at 2:00 in the morning.
So literally, it was I think at 2:15 a.m. till 9 a.m. And I was like, oh my god, I have to become nocturnal. And thank God it was in COVID. So I literally became nocturnal. I wasn't in a relationship. I was on my own in my room. You couldn't drive at until 5 a.m. or whatever that, remember that lockdown law? It was like you're not allowed on the road until
it was like we're pretty much home
8 p.m. to 5 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah,
but I needed to go to the factory.
Yeah.
And use fragrances because my dad has a factory, so I set up my business then. So I needed to go to the factory and actually mix fragrances and play with samples because I couldn't do that in my room. Fragrance is flammable. You could spill it. It stains things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I can't be making this at home. So I set up, thankfully, Meta actually also wouldn't be what it is if I didn't have the opportunity of a factory space straight away.
Yeah.
So then when I was setting it all up there, I actually became nocturnal for that whole period and learned and studied and started my business.
How'd that go with your mental state doing the
It was actually probably the first time in my life that I ever felt like, wow, I can do something. I don't know. And I think
you had the drive to do it.
Yeah. And I wasn't dependent on somebody else, whereas I've always felt very codependent.
Yeah.
On friends, on partners, on everything. And I was like, wow, I can do this. And then I remember the day I launched, I'd brought 100 candles and I thought, wow, that'll be plenty, And I sold like 350.
Wow.
And I was like, oh. So I hired someone that week. And I was like, wow.
So once you got these candles, how did you market them? Like just purely from Instagram?
I built my website myself on Shopify.
Yeah.
And then I just like made a write-up, did my seedling paper, mastered that because Meta, obviously, meaning metamorphosis, it's inspired by... Well, I have bipolar, and one of my favourite books I've ever read is called Into the Fire. And they say that having bipolar is like having a brain on fire because it ignites and there's no coming back and everything goes to another place. So that's something I've always correlated with very heavily in my life. My dad used to say to me, you get to a point where there's no emotion, you're no longer there. He'd be like, I'd be trying to communicate with you and you are literally not there. Like it's just pure emotion. There's absolutely no rationale. And it's like I just, ignite and I would become uncontrollable in that space.
Yeah.
So Meta was symbolic of me of, may you burn brightly, burning. And then we introduced seedling paper, which comes with every vessel that you plant afterwards. So you bloom. So after you've lit on fire, you can then regrow.
Yeah.
And through something destroying itself, something new can be created.
Yeah.
And I like to believe in the quote that a lot of times in life people think they've been buried, but you haven't, you've been planted.
Yeah. That's cool. It's so creative, and I love how personal it is to you.
It's very personal. Yeah, it's very personal.
Yeah, and it's just nobody does things like that. Everything's sort of, a lot of people just, I don't know, it's because it's so personal to you, and not only that, it's so cool that you can buy something and once it's actually finished, it's got another purpose. And not only that, like as a plant, like it's a sort of a forever thing.
Yes.
Like so every time somebody does this, if they grow that thing, that's something that they can have sort of forever. And that forever remind you of that candle or something that they bought from you. So that's really cool. That's why I honestly can't wait to do that myself.
Thank you. And I wanted vessels that looked like art pieces. I wanted them to be, you know, not just like a glass jar.
Yeah.
I don't like things that are simple. I don't like things that are boring. And I guess that's where my taste comes from. I like things that are ornate or unique. And then I did, wildflowers, because wildflowers obviously are symbolic of growing after bushfires and anywhere they're planted.
Yeah,
or herbs, because then you can consume them, reuse them, and they have a life after. So you can then, have a candle, plant a herb, use that in your cooking, nourish your soul.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Do people send you photos of their flowers and
Yeah,
stuff?
which is really cute.
Yeah.
And then like they're all like little buds, and people send me photos of them all growing in their sunlight. They're like, this is so cute. I'm like, yeah, it's a very cool concept.
That's cool. So what was like one of the first candles that you made? Have you still got have you kept one of everything that you've made?
At the factory I have, yeah. So the first ones I did were kind of grey concrete with the gold internal.
Yeah.
And then they sold out so quickly, and they were a discontinued vessel from one of my suppliers.
But yeah, like I said before, was this just purely off your website and Instagram?
Yep.
That's crazy. It just sort of blew up straight away.
I did I think it was 10 or 15,000 in my first week.
Holy
I was
shit.
like, I was expecting to maybe do that a year.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. I literally was like, what? And I have photos on my Instagram when it first started, of a whole room this big, filled out with orders and boxes and
so
vessels.
overwhelming.
And I was like, oh my God,
shit, what is happening?
And I was calling my supplier. I was like, do you have more of those vessels? They were like, you just brought 100. I was like, yeah, I need 200 more.
Yeah. That's
and then I had I used to make my wax on a stove in a pot. I was like, oh no, I need 20 or 50 litre max Volta.
Yeah.
And then I got one of my girlfriends, another one of my girlfriends, Lauren, who's still with me now. I've just recently made her a 10% partner in my business. Especially since going on maternity leave, she knows my business inside out.
Yeah.
And I feel like she's essentially running it. Whereas I still do the innovation and the concepts, the fragrances, and all of the design principles. But she's essentially, I would say, an operations or a warehouse manager. So I just involved her in the partnership, but she was with me since I started. And it was really profound.
Someone that you can trust.
Yeah,
you can
I'm
rely
blessed. Especially to have a friend who's like that,
Was she a friend before? Or?
Yeah, so she is one of Adam's friend's partners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, because I know that friends and work don't always mix well. So
no,
I'm happy that it's worked out well for you.
There's only been one issue ever in the whole thing. And then, we took our time from that, and then I feel came back, and now we're even better than ever. I feel sometimes when things happen, you have to have that absolute transparency.
Yeah.
And either, we're solid from here on out, or let's just not bother.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're not going through it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's committed, and he's
We're
killing it.
Yeah. So that's nice.
So as you were saying before, that you had bipolar, it's a pretty crazy thing. I was I'm starting to say that I've even actually, I know one other person, but I can't even begin to think about how that would be. When did you find out that was a...
So bipolar is really unique in its origin. Most mental illnesses are psychological, of course. So anxiety, depression, all of these things are essentially in your head psychologically. Bipolar is actually also physiological. Yeah. So when you have a CT scan and an MRI, it actually can be detected in your brain.
Really?
The way your brain is wired and the way that it has cognitive connections triggers differently. So I think I was always very unusual from a very young age.
It would have been so confusing as
a child.
As not knowing.
Yeah. And it would have been very confusing for my parents and for my sister as well.
Can you sort of explain maybe some examples of some things that happened, obviously maybe when you were younger, that Because like, what exactly? For you? What exactly like what was going on?
Yeah, so I feel like, excuse me, especially back in, when I was born in the 90s, mental health was still just maybe beginning to become spoken about.
Yeah.
And I feel like from a very early age, I'm talking 3, 4, 5, I was very peculiar. I had a lot of very profound intrusive thoughts. I have like diaries from 1998 when I'm 5 saying, if I was a boy, my father would love me more, or why do people think I'm little, I'm big? And I've read them to Adam, and Adam's like, I kind of need you I just don't understand. I don't even think thoughts this complex, and I'm 30, and this is 1998.
So how old were you at that age?
5.
Yeah.
And I have a journal from almost every year. And even in grade 3 or 4 with very complex emotions and perceptions and just real high sensitivity. And I think
the fact that you've been writing this stuff down at that age is
I have diaries from every year. They're quite confronting. It was very much like, that's another thing I did in therapy, like reread them all, revisited them all and tried to, understand myself.
Yeah.
But I do empathise and sympathise my parents having gone through that too, because, my parents were only, 31 at that time, which is very young. That's similar to my age now, trying to deal with a child who, was very complex.
Did they know did they have any idea what was going on?
No, I think probably from maybe like 10 or 11 where I was quite overtly suicidal and would self-harm quite a lot. Had like eating disorders, would cut myself or...
Are these just all, per se, coping mechanisms?
Yeah, and I think just in bipolar, you go through cycles. So you have like a manic state and then you have a depressive state. There's type 1, type 2. Type 1, I believe, is like really rapid cycling and type 2 is really long cycling. So I might have 2 manic states per year and 2 depressive states per year. Yeah. So I'm never like on a equilibrium.
Right, so you got the long term one.
Yeah. So like each year I would get slowly getting like more and more manic. And being manic is amazing. I would never not want to be manic. Like, I'm not medicated. I haven't been medicated since I was about 20.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be medicated because I think if I'm medicated, I'm very numb and I'm very
I personally don't agree with medication and numb things either. So
yeah, I don't understand it. I just I feel like
it's just like suppressing your
you
feelings.
Stop the happiness, but you stop the sadness, but you stop the happiness too.
Yeah.
I remember being medicated and literally feeling nothing. I tried Seroquel, I tried Xanax, I tried Valium, I tried Zoloft, I tried Eptim, a few different things, Lovan, Luvox, like
Seroquels, those things are strong.
Very much so. Yeah, I don't even remember. I used to sleep for 48 hours, and take those on a weekend. Then I obviously, as well as was using recreational drugs. Started smoking when I was like 16. I think that's quite a drug. Drinking wine all the time, just whatever, everything, just trying to find a way, I guess, to whether or not it was to cope or to feel stable. I don't really know.
That's the thing. I don't know about your parents, but I think it's just surely all of our parents, like just growing up in the 90s, like our parents weren't very informative and telling us like sort of about feelings and all these things.
They didn't know either.
Yeah, I feel like we've grown so much as a generation, like from theirs, like it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Like I feel like my parents didn't tell me shit. Like I love my parents and they did a really good job.
Same. I adore my parents.
They didn't tell me nothing. Like I feel like I have so much more information to give my kid when I eventually have one than what they gave me.
Yeah. It's quite sad. I feel like my mum's family especially has gone through a lot of depression. Our cousin killed himself. One of my mum's brothers tried to kill himself. Another one of my mum's brothers shot himself. And she lost her father young and had a lot of depression throughout her life. And I feel like, she's an incredible mum. She's my best friend. And so is my dad, like literally my best friends. But I feel as though, even now when we text, she'll be like, I've got to do this for me and I've got to get my head right and I want to go to training and I'm feeling good about myself and I feel proud of myself and this is good for my mental state,
Yeah.
These sentences even 10, 15 years ago
were not
a thing. No way. Like I remember going to the doctors and coming home and saying, I have bipolar. And my mum being like, no, you don't. And me being like, what? Yeah, I do. And her being like, well, I don't think so. You know, because how was she to know? What you'd seen of bipolar was people who like flew up and down off the handle and acted one way in one sentence and another, and there was all these weird.
So you like you said, with like the long term, is it in the sort of the sense that you would sort of become like a completely different person over like 12-month period? Not completely different person, but like
so I'd go through states. So like feeling manic is feeling inspired and everything's colourful and beautiful and fast, and you know I get very excited and the whole world feels like this, you know. So it's kind of like I'd get in a state where I'm like, oh, I think I want to be a doctor and I'm going to study this and I want to fly here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to buy this car and I'm going to get this credit card, you know what I mean? And everything was so exciting and wonderful and I'd have all these beautiful ideas. I wouldn't sleep for days at a time because I was too excited, you know. So I'd just be writing, reading and learning and going here, going there, and you're not tired ever. You're not hungry ever. I perfectly remember not being tired for 3 or 4 days at a time because
this is obviously one of those stages when you're doing that that American institute, the LA Institute.
So maybe
thing.
I was slightly manic then, you know what I mean? But I think it's now I recognise my mania and I feel like I'm in control because I have steps now that I know how to not let myself go all the way. Whereas I used to love that. I used to go all the way, you know what I mean, and get higher and higher and more excited. And then after you get high, obviously you crash, you know. So then I would get into states of depression for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months where I would not brush my teeth. I would not shower. I wouldn't care to leave my bed. I wouldn't communicate.
You wouldn't shower
for 4 or 5 days, no. Like just had zero energy to, just wanted to kill myself, literally wanted to die.
When you're going through something like that, what are you telling yourself to sort of push on?
Absolutely nothing. I would just sit in that state.
And how come it didn't come to an end? Like how come?
I tried a number of times. I was institutionalized quite a few times. Like I remember I had a car and I was in a bipolar state, and this is something, you know, that it took me a long time to forgive myself over. I was with an ex-boyfriend and one of my friend's younger sisters at the time, who I think was 15 or 16, she shouldn't have been exposed to that. I think I was just 18 or 19. And I was in a very manic, depressive state and
still learning the whole process of what
I was going through, And I was undiagnosed, probably self-medicating. I was like 19 and I drove through a red light in Melbourne at like, I don't know, 120 k's, hit a taxi that had kids in the back of it, like spun my car, flipped it, rid it off, and then just from a pure adrenaline in the state of mind I was in, fled from the scene and then was institutionalized and hospitalized and then just like didn't take any responsibility from it, recall it, you know. My parents were like, cool, that car and the other car, that's a $78,000 jet. Like, it's 78, you were driving and drinking and on drugs when you crashed that car.
Do you remember doing this?
I do remember it, but I don't remember being in my body. It's so weird. It's like sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
I felt like I was constantly an observer of my own life, never present in it. It's very weird.
Yeah.
So like that was like a state I got in, and then afterwards I was kind of like, why are people mad at me? Like, this is so weird. Like that wasn't my fault, you know? There was like no responsibility, no awareness. So I was like 3 days or 4 days later, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Cambodia. Yeah. So then I just went to Cambodia. And then I was like, no, I'm all better now, you know? Mum and Dad were like, no, like you hit your family.
Did you say that you went into an institute, did you say?
Yeah. So and in hospitals.
What happens in there?
They just diagnose you, medicate you, kind of come and speak to you.
Do they like force medication on you?
Yeah. You have to be medicated.
What if you didn't want it?
Well, you don't have that option, yeah.
Really?
And then you have to get assessed to leave. And that if they deem you unsafe to yourself, you're not able and fit to leave.
So were you getting out of there by lying or?
Yeah.
I was about to say, I'm sure a lot of people would lie their way out of getting out of there.
They'll be like, do you think about killing yourself? I'm like, no. You know? Sitting there being I can't wait to leave, I just want to die.
Yeah, you know what they want to hear.
Yeah, of course. And then, you know, they'd be like, you know, do you feel safe alone? And I'd be like, yeah. But whilst not ever feeling those feelings, you know, and like on a scale of 1 to 10, how often do you feel hopeless? And I'd be like, oh, 8, like 5, you know? Yeah. Whereas you really felt those things, but you just...
It's so crazy. All of this is so foreign to me. Like, I'm so extremely... That's why I love hearing this, but at the same time, it makes me feel so grateful because I've never had any sort of depression or like anything. Like
Yes.
I've always like it just makes me feel so grateful just listening to this. Like
It's nice that you've never experienced it, but yet you can have a gratitude and you're humble in your own existence.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, I don't know, some people are really confronted by their trauma. Some people, unfortunately, have a hard time working through their trauma. They don't accept their trauma. They're afraid of their trauma. Like I know some people who, because of their trauma, don't want to have children.
Yeah.
Because they're too afraid of their childhood traumas. Or their inability to cope.
Yeah.
Or if they were to have a breakdown, or how their parents treated them, you know? Yeah. Whereas I feel like, I can't wait to be a mother. Like, I'm so blessed. Hi, baby. I'm so blessed to be a parent now. Yeah. And I think, if this was any other time in my life, I obviously wouldn't have been ready. But I've worked enough since I was 21 until now to get to a place where I trust myself as a person, especially as a parent, that I can't wait to do that with Harlow.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go to him, okay, this is an emotion. Let's recognize it.
That's what I was about to say. So what do you do now to obviously just cope with it? Like, obviously it's one of those things that's just never going to go away.
No.
So what do you do on a daily to just work with it?
Constant gratitude. I feel like that's a really important thing. I wake up and I count my blessings.
Still journaling and
yes, I still write constantly. More so my notes these days than a physical diary.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's much easier. I probably have 15,000 notes or something.
Yeah, even just like voice memos or anything like that. That's what I've started. I barely text anymore. I just send
how much easier is it? It's so nice.
And you can just talk so much more shit than, and I can do it like while I'm driving and stuff.
Yes.
Which is good.
And then, I feel like I journal. I practice gratitude. I take my life a lot more slowly now. I feel like I used to rush through a lot of things, whereas now I honor my morning. I respect my morning. I make myself breakfast. I let myself be. I go for a walk with my dogs. But I think more than anything is remembering the things that I'm grateful for. I think it's very easy to forget just how blessed you are to have, clean drinking water, access to healthcare and things like that. Like the other day I was on TikTok and I was watching a woman in America who said, her labor cost her something like $30,000 and there wasn't a bed and she was discharged after this and the doctors didn't ask for this. And I was like, wow, like in Australia you just get that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're so privileged.
We don't even know
how privileged we really are.
There's like another whole world out there.
Yeah.
It's like we have no idea what's going on over there. Just people live in crazy situations.
Yeah. And I think one moment, I'm just going to make sure she doesn't need to go to the bathroom.
That's cool.
Come on, baby.
Lucky, they're so chill.
Yeah, they're good girls.
Unlike Busy's dog.
Yeah, well, I could hear him in it going like, doo on the doors.
He's a savage.
What is he?
What is he, a German Pinscher or something like that?
Okay.
He's actually a pretty unique dog. Like, I've never seen another one of him before. But yeah, he's so cute. He's just like Busy though. Got the same energy. Hey.
I'll take her away. Because she'll be very loud in your microphone. You go play. Good girl.
But yeah, I'm honestly so intrigued with this bipolar thing. Like, I just want to know everything. What is it like for AJ, your partner? How was that for him? Obviously, I'm asking through you, but I'm sure that would have been such a hard thing for him as well. What was that like?
I think do you want me to take it? I think Adam's not the most naturally emotionally intelligent individual. I feel like in his life he's had a lot of suppressed emotions.
Yeah.
As a child, I think Adam, like all of us, probably wasn't given a space to feel, and especially as a man.
Yeah.
And Adam is quite masculine too, whereas I'm very feminine and he's very masculine, which I think is the thing that draws us together. But when we met, I would explain things to him and he was kind of very closed off to emotion. So I don't think he really knew how to understand me or process me for probably the first 2 or 3 years of our relationship. I think that's something that's been quite recent.
Yeah, well, for someone that has never been through something like that, it's sort of impossible to comprehend, like,
Yeah.
what they're going through.
And he was always like, you know, I just don't understand, like, what you want me to say.
Yeah.
Whereas I'd be like, oh, you know, I'm feeling really miserable today. I want to kill myself. And Adam would be like, oh, well, that's not good. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, sorry.
I honestly would have been the same.
Yeah.
He obviously didn't know what to do. Yeah, I reckon I would have been pretty similar as well. Like, but this is one of those things you have to go through to. You can't just all of a sudden know. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the best thing about Adam is he has a 2-second rebound rate. I think if I had another partner and they saw some of my, you know, I don't like to call it my ugly. I think that's a disrespect, but everyone has the good, the bad, and the ugly. I really do think that. And everyone has a personality, I feel, that they show the world.
yeah.
One they keep at home, and then one they reserve for their most intimate partner. I really do believe that, because Adam knows parts of me that maybe there's 2 other people in the world or 3 other people in the world. Maybe like Matt, Sally and Mia probably know my vulnerabilities. But there was times where, you know, Adam and I think one night we were at a gig at, what was it? The Sydney Mine Music Bowl.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. I was just in a state and he said something about getting food and I didn't want that food. So I had a really big breakdown, like absolutely inconsolable. My sister was there. I'd left, drove my car drunk, drove it across the lanes on Punt Road into oncoming traffic. And Adam like opened my car door, ripped me out of it, broke my glasses, like, you know, like proper inconsolable in an actual psychotic state. I had to call my parents who came and got me. I could not calm down. Actually could not physically calm down. And, you know, he went home that night. And then the next morning I woke up and messaged him and I was like, you know, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm like that. Like, I'm just not myself right now. And he was like, that's okay. I just need a day, you know? And I was like, no, like, do you hate me? Like, you know, I'm so fucking, and he was like, I just need a day, you know? And then the next day he was like, hey, are you all right?
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, not many people
Yeah, he's been very understanding.
wouldn't do that, because me, if he did something like that to me, I think with my level of emotional intelligence or how deep thinking I am, or I'd be like, all right, we need to sit down and we need to talk through this. Like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Where did it start from? What was the trigger? How did this happen? How are we going to prevent this from ever happening again? I'm very much like that, because I guess my whole life I've been in therapy. I need an answer and an explanation to everything. Yeah. Whereas Adam's like, all right, you had a shit day, you're out of control. Yep. We're going to move on from it.
Yeah, I'm similar to that too.
I'm so blessed. Because if I had a partner who held me accountable for all my shit,
yeah,
maybe we wouldn't work so well, you know?
That's why he's obviously he's your person, because he can let those things slide and just love you for who you are.
Exactly right. It's so strange. Like, I don't feel like he it's not as though he doesn't hold me accountable. Like, he'll say to me, that was fucked. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, but I know you don't mean that. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, because I really don't, you know? And like another time, I think we'd been dating for a month or something and I crashed his car. It was brand new. He got it in the December. I wrote it off. Just literally in a state. Yeah. And then, I wanted to kill myself.
This is a bit of a pattern.
I get into states. Yeah, cars are you should never drive when you're manic. Absolutely not.
But how do you know, do you know, like,
that I'm manic or that it's going to happen?
Yeah, like,
no.
This is all of a sudden you're just in that state, and then like after you're like, oh shit, I was just doing those.
I think I'm already in the state, and then whether or not it's drinking, whether or not it's emotions, whether or not it's drugs, I just need something to tip me. Like this, like, you know, it literally could be, Adam could have said, oh, we'll get a chicken Caesar salad, and I'd say, no, I wanted nachos. Then he'd go, okay, well, I'm going to get chicken Caesar, and I'm like, that's fuck, you know, it was like, it was just waiting inside of me, because I was already in that state.
Premeditated sort of.
Yeah, but I wasn't even consciously, of course I'd never want to lose it. Why would I ever want to lose it? It's not like I woke up and wanted to lose my shit, or wanted to have a breakdown, or wanted to hurt myself, or wanted to hurt my partner, or my friends, or my family. And, you know.
Sometimes, like, I'm actually pretty negative and angry person. Sometimes I like being in that state. I like being, like, angry.
Why?
I don't know.
I'm not ever.
It's like, I don't know. It just because I feel like it's just part of me. Like it's just like one of those things. Like as well. Like
What are you angry at though?
I'm just in general, just like I'm just an angry person. That's why
Really?
that's why I smoke like a lot of weed, and that chills me the fuck out. That's why. But there's a lot of things like as well. Like just say for example, everyone's always trying to better themselves. Like as you get older, you start realizing, like when you're a bit younger, you're like, I don't really care about things, and then you get a bit older, and you're like, okay, I want to start fixing it. You start realizing, and you want to start fixing all of these problems. But then there's also, do I want to fix that? That's what I mean. Like this is one of those things that's like part of me, and I'm like, sometimes I enjoy like being a little bit angry, like, and that's why like I do things like I like a box and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it's sort of a release for me, but I don't know. It's hard to explain.
I understand what you're saying. I I used to like being depressed in a way.
Trying to help yourself.
Because I feel like I was more creative when I was depressed or somewhat manic. Like I'm more creative or emotional or intuitive. I'm better at writing. But I never want to be...
All the best people in the world are fucking crazy. It's crazy in the mind.
But I never, ever want to be in a state again where I feel like I could hurt someone else, you know, because I feel like it got to that, you know, whereas
you obviously got this shit under control. You're obviously trusting yourself now, and in AJ, obviously before you obviously had a child, that would have been sort of hard decision for you both to make. You obviously got to the point where you were like, okay, I think I've got my shit under control.
Yeah, well, it takes getting honest. It takes cutting your bullshit, you know. Yeah. I feel like I have incredible friends.
Yeah, you have to be honest to yourself. I don't know many people
who are as lucky as me with their friendship circle. Like, I feel like I sincerely have, you know, maybe 10 or 15 best friends, which I don't know many people who have that. Yeah. But, you know, I had to cut my shit. Like, I used to lie to my best friends. You know, I used to lie to Adam or to my parents just about little things. I don't know, like little irrelevant things like, what'd you do yesterday? Oh, I went to the shop, but I didn't, you know. I just used to lie because I was just like in such a shit headspace, and I was so uncomfortable with myself, and I didn't want anybody knowing the truth about how, I guess, miserable, out of control I felt, that I just built this facade that I felt like I always had to keep. And then I think it took maybe 4 or 5 years ago, like going, oh my God, I don't even know who I am or like who I am. And I don't even know if my friends love me for me. You know, they do.
Well, if you don't even know who you are, then...
how the fuck can anyone else accept me, love me, support me?
Yeah, like, they obviously like the facade that you're putting on.
Yeah. Who am I really?
Yeah.
So I think it takes cutting your bullshit and being very vulnerable and being very honest with everyone around you and saying like, hey, this is me. Like, I'm actually not coping. I'm actually not, you know, anywhere near as successful or put together as I've pretended or whatever it may be. And, you know, it was funny. All of my friends were like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, really? They were like, yeah, we know. I was like, oh. They were like, yeah, you're out of control. I was like, oh, cool.
So when was the point where you sort of had to like tell yourself, I'm not who I think I am? Like,
yeah, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I think Adam and I had just been together.
How long have you guys been together now?
5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'd just been together. We were still very turbulent, you know. I felt like, I was always trying to be, you know, cool girl. Like Adam, when we first started speaking, had a different girlfriend or whatever. And then we spoke the whole time they were together, not like sexually, and we never caught up. Like he never cheated on her with me or anything like that. I would never condone that, but we just spoke. And I always really liked him. I knew I loved him. It's so weird. The day I saw him, I was at the pub in Berwick at Beaconsfield at the Sench. I'm not joking. The night I saw him, I was like, I love him. And my friends were like, no, you don't. Like, he's a fuckboy. And I was like, no, I love him. And they were like, he's not your type. And before him, I'd kind of dated.
You've been like, honestly... as soon as I met you, like, I found you were just like, he's your boo. Like, I love him.
Literally, I'm still like that. Like, I just love him. And everyone's like, it's funny. Like, you can see you're just obsessed with him. I'm like, yeah, I am. But literally the night I met him, I was like, oh my God, I was smitten by him. Like, I was just obsessed with him. And everyone was like, no. And before him, I dated like radiologists and like builders and...
What happened? What, did you just go over and start speaking to him?
Yeah. And I was like, I love you. And he was blind.
Did you say
like,
that?
I don't even know what
I
I
Was
said.
he like in his tradie gear?
No. He was in like white shorts and I think a white top. I think it was a white party or something. And he was blind. And he was like, hey. And I was like, hi. And he was like talking to me for a bit. And then the next day, I think it was, Boxing Day or whatever. And then I think I messaged him on Facebook on the 5th or the 6th. And at this time, I was doing a detox from social media, so I didn't have Instagram or Snapchat or something. I don't know. And then he was like, hi. And I was like, hi, like I met you on Christmas Eve. Like, you know, I just thought you were really cute or something. And he was like, sorry, who's this? Like, I don't remember you. And I was like, oh, really? Like, that's so weird. Like,
You're like,
I remember
really
you.
hurt.
Yeah, I was like, hey, Jackie, you don't love me? And then he was like, what's your Instagram? And I was like, oh, I don't have it right now. And he was like, okay. So he literally tells this story too. He thought I was fake.
Yeah.
Because then he went and said to a few of his mates, some girl, Jodie Hagedorn, is messaging me on Facebook, and all his friends were like, no, Jodie wouldn't go for you, you know, and a few of them knew me and they were like, I don't think you're Jodie's type, like, you know, Jodie wouldn't talk to you. And they were like, someone's setting you up. And a few of his friends said, oh, I think like, you know, she's really hot, like she's really cool, I don't think she would go for you. And he was like, oh, well, show me her or whatever. And then he had it in his head that his friends were setting him up. So I asked him on 3 dates, all 3 of them he didn't come to the restaurant.
What do you mean setting him up?
They thought so he says like he used to be in a room like this and he'd text me and be like, hey, and see if any of his friends' phones went off.
Yeah, okay.
Because he literally thought it was a joke, sorry. He literally thought that it was a joke that one of his friends trying to pretend it was him. Yeah, so he like would text me, be like, hi, and I'm like, hey. And then like he was like waiting to see if any of the boys pulled out their phone or the text home.
He was obviously super intrigued as well though.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got this fine ass bitch. Like, I hope she's real.
Yeah. And then he was like, and then I asked him on multiple dates. He didn't come to any of them. Literally left me at the restaurant. Like I was like, hey, like I'm here. And he was like, nah.
I can't even believe that you allowed that 3 times.
No, I loved him. It's so weird. I did. And then
that's crazy. It's like
we went to the
literally
deck.
love at first sight.
It was. And I've never been like that my whole life. I've dated like, I don't even know how many people, and I was always like, meh, you know, but it was so weird. And then we went to the deck for my girlfriend Sally's birthday, and he came up to me and I was with a bunch of my friends and he wouldn't even shake their hand. He was so drunk. And these guys were like, this is who you love. And I was like, yeah, like he's a pig. Like he won't even shake our hand. Like he's gross. And we were standing there and I had like really nice jeans on, like Valentino heels, and he threw up on me. And then he was like, I want to eat your ass. And I was like, oh. And my friends were like, this is who you love. I was like, yeah, I love him. And he was vomiting.
Was this purely just from
the first night I'd seen him?
No, is this all just from like looks? Because like you didn't even
just
know
from his energy. Yeah, I just loved him.
Yeah, that's just
I don't know
crazy.
why. And it's
even
like,
after
I've never dated a boy with tattoos.
After all the fucked up shit that he was saying as well. And
never dated a boy with tattoos. I don't know, I just loved him.
Yeah.
And I still do. I don't know why. It's annoying. But yeah, annoying. And my friends were like, oh, and I was like, I remember saying, I think it was like Brenton and Ryan and Russ, they're like from Mornington, they were there. And I was like, oh, can someone get him like a glass of water? And they were like, no, like, fuck this cunt. Like, he didn't even shake my hand. Like, I'm not giving him a water. So then he got kicked out. He went to Jai's house and he came back in a cowboy hat and one of Jai's tees. Yeah. So obviously there's AJ, who's 6 foot, however, in one of Jai's tees that came to here. And he came back in, he was like, I got back in. And I was like, oh. And he was like in like a crop top. In like a cowboy hat. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, John, come to my mates. Like, I want to fuck you. And I was like, nah, probably not today. And he was like trying to kiss me on his way out. He was like vomiting in front of me, then trying to make out with me. And I was like, probably not, you know. And then he left. And then he messaged me saying, he went back to Reese McKeith's house or something. And then he messaged me saying, oh, I've got a girlfriend. And I was like, sorry? What do you mean you have a girlfriend? I love you. I wanted to be your girlfriend. And that's literally what I replied to him. And he was like, no. And I was like, yeah, but I want to be your girlfriend. And he was like, oh, sorry. And then I think they dated for however long they dated. And then he messaged me just after my birthday in the September. He was like, hey, I broke up with my girlfriend. Do you want to go on a date? I was like, yes, please. Oh my God, thank God. Like, I love you.
How long?
I think it was like, well, I met him on Christmas Eve and it wasn't until the October.
Oh, so
and we
was that
spoke
long?
the whole time. Yeah, 10
you
months.
were speaking the whole time?
Yeah, so 10 months.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, I love you. Literally. And the first night we slept together, he told me he loved me and then we just literally dated.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But he accepts me for me.
Yeah.
And I accept him for him.
You just fell.
Yeah, and even my dad always says, like, you know, you guys are so opposite. I don't know anyone more different than Adam and I. Not one thing about us is common. Like, we could literally look at the same picture and I'd be like, it's pink, and he'd be like, that's blue.
Yeah, opposites attract.
We are just so different. But, yeah, sometimes I wonder if I was with somebody who was more emotional and things like that, maybe we wouldn't work because maybe it'd be too much.
Well, he's obviously got some perfect chemistry going.
Yeah.
And
It's funny.
damn.
Have you ever felt like that?
Absolutely not.
No.
That's what, all of these things as well, it's just like, you got all the craziness, like, yeah, just everything comes with a cost.
Yes.
And you've got all the crazy shit that you've got, but then now you've just like fully crazily fallen in love with this bloke. And if you went the way that you were, he might obviously wouldn't have liked you.
I don't think we'd be together if I hadn't been the way I was. Like even he said, like you literally asked me out on date after date. I asked him to be my boyfriend.
Yeah.
You know, and he was like, "What? You're so random."
And
I was like,
he's
but I know what I
throwing
want.
He's throwing up on you and shit. And
And I was like, I love him. He's perfect. And everyone's like, have you seen him? I'm like, yeah. He's the one for me.
Yeah. Wow. That's what this has just randomly just come to me, but now that you sort of explained like this manic state and that, I remember it must have actually been you guys probably just started dating, but remember that party I had when I first moved into my house, that Christmas party?
When I lost my jewel?
Yeah. And I'm like, you guys must have only just been together then, but yeah, I remember that time in the morning you were fucking losing your shit. Excuse me if you didn't want me to say this, but you would just, obviously, you just needed it.
My vape.
Yeah. I was like, something so ridiculous.
But my OCD, that's what I mean. That's my OCD.
That's why I was like, I didn't care. I was like, whatever, I will help you get it. But I was like, it's just a vape.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll buy you another one. You're like, no, I want that one.
No, yeah.
You needed that one.
But that is my OCD.
And
that's
we
the
literally
part of my
had the
mental health.
whole party like
standing up, moving, lifting every couch, and it was plugged in on the fucking bed charged by me. Don't. I put it on charge.
And we were searching under couches and shit, and it was
Every
on charge
single
in the
person
kitchen.
was standing. The whole party, the music stopped. Everyone was like, "No, we've got to find this jewel. Like, I'm actually going to kill myself." And I was like, inconsolable.
Oh my god.
And I think it was Ash Goltry.
Yeah.
She messaged Adam the other day. It was like a meme about a jewel, and Adam's like, "Don't fucking get me started." And she was like, "I will never forget the night I met Jodie at Lou's party." And she literally accused me of stealing it and sat me down and was like, "If you've taken it, I understand, but I just need it back." And she
You were saying this to her?
Yeah, and she was like, "I have not taken it." And I was like,
you crazy bitch.
"I think you have." And like, if you just put it somewhere and just say it's there, I won't even be mad. You know? She was like, "No, I don't have it." And then you messaged me, I think at 6 or 7 a.m. saying, "Hey, your jewel's plugged in on charge on my kitchen bench next to the kettle." And I was like, I did that.
I can't believe that nobody even seen that. Like, what the fuck?
But that's my OCD.
Yeah.
I'm still like that. I'm very OCD. Yeah. I think I always will be.
And that's like, obviously at that point in time, I didn't know you very well. So I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I was just like, I'm probably very similar to Adrian. I was like, who gives a shit?
Like, yeah, like what are you doing?
Yeah. But now obviously that you've explained it all makes sense.
I'm very particular.
Yeah. What about
like I said to Adam, one spoon's missing.
What? Oh, of one spoon.
And he'll be like, "Sorry." And I'll be like, "We have 8 of each gold. And there's 7.
But you're in there counting.
So if you've taken it to work, I just need you to be honest, and I need you to go to your car and wash it and put it back. I'm not going to notice, but you have silver ones to take. We don't take the gold out of the house." And he'll be like, "I didn't take a gold." I'm like, "I think you did. I'm just going to let it be." This is literally last week.
I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to let this time slide.
I'm not going to pay attention. If it comes back, it comes back.
That's just like wishful thinking.
Yeah, and he's like, "Okay," but then it comes back, you know, because he did take it in his esky. Oh. So then 2 days later, I unload the dishwasher and there's 8 again. I'm like, I know. And he's like, "You're a fucking freak. Why did you count the forks? How often do you count the forks?" And I'm like, "Most
Every
days."
day.
Yeah, most days. He's like, I literally took that this morning. I'm like, yeah, most days.
Imagine all the time that you spend doing silly things like that.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm very OCD, yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say, when you guys decided to have a baby, does that have any toll on your business at all? Like,
yeah, okay, so
what was that going like through, even just like the whole pregnancy?
pregnancy was hard for me. I had...
Because very obviously very emotional, just that in itself, let alone with your condition.
Yeah, so the year before we lost our baby after seeing the 7-week and the 10-week scan. So that was really quite late that we lost our baby. And I think the most horrific part of that was it was COVID, so Adam wasn't allowed an ultrasound. So
Yeah.
I'd seen the baby twice, I'd seen the heartbeat twice, but he hadn't. And then when I went to the third appointment where they do like an anatomy scan, there was no heartbeat or signs of life. And I was in that appointment on my own, you know?
Yeah.
So, and he found that hard to grieve because he'd never
ridiculous.
even seen it.
It's so
He
ridiculous.
was like, I feel so unattached to it. I've never even seen it on a screen. Like,
Yeah.
what, you know, it's just like an idea to me. And so then when we fell pregnant, I only had 2 periods in between that. And I guess I was just full set on Meta. My mind was in other places. You know, Meta saved me in a lot of ways. It gave me something to look forward to every day, something beautiful, something creative. And it filled up my cup of that manic need to like express.
Yeah, it sort of distracts
something
your
else.
distraction.
Yeah, it absorbs my energy, it absorbs my manic. Like at 2 a.m. I used to be looking up, you know, the most cooked shit, whereas now at 2 a.m. I'm looking up fragrances. Like
Yeah.
I've got a healthy source of inspiration and creativity.
Yeah.
So
cool.
then when I fell pregnant, sorry, Boo, come on. Having a puppy is hard as well as a newborn. It's a lot. And then when I fell pregnant the next time, we really weren't expecting that. So we felt really, really blessed. And then I had morning sickness every day.
Were you guys trying?
Well, we weren't trying because I'd only had 2 periods.
Yeah.
So we didn't think I could fall pregnant. And we'd just come off a miscarriage. So we thought we'll give it a while.
Straight. He's got the magic stick.
Yeah, he must. No, I'm obsessed. Stop. So funny. And then, we were just, I don't know, being us. Adam and I are very affectionate and very intimate, which is great. I think that's a very important thing. I don't know, that's how I feel loved. It's very important to me to come to connection physically.
Physically, yeah.
Some people show emotion, but I think because I'm so emotional, I don't need emotion from another partner. If someone kind of gives me a lot of emotion, I get a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like I kind of need a break.
You want to be the giver.
Yeah. It's a bit much for me. I'd rather physical touch.
Yeah.
So then we fell pregnant. We were so excited. That was really beautiful. Went through the whole pregnancy. I was quite sick with preeclampsia. Sorry.
That was lucky.
I was quite sick with preeclampsia and gestational
With what,
diabetes. Preeclampsia.
What is that?
So it's when your placenta affects your blood pressure and therefore your mobility is restricted, your blood pressure is really high. And when your blood pressure is really high, it kind of puts you in an anxious state.
Is this just something you go through pregnancy or?
It's not very common, I don't believe, but it's something I went through during pregnancy. And then I got gestational diabetes. I might put my dogs outside. Hold on, sorry, Louis. Sorry.
That's cool.
So yeah, that affected my blood pressure. And then I had to get induced. I went into labour in a COVID ward, which was pretty hard because again, I was kind of institutionalised against my will. And I'm really grateful for Adam after this because after I gave birth and I was in there on my own, I was extremely anxious.
What, this happened after you gave birth?
So I was diagnosed, not diagnosed, what's the word? Tested positive for COVID when I was induced. So they put a balloon in to bring on my labour because it would have been too dangerous for me to continue at 36 weeks and 5 days because my preeclampsia and blood pressure was so bad. You're at risk of stroke. So they induced me and then we tested COVID positive, both of us. So then we went into the ward and after I physically gave birth, they said Adam has to leave. So I was in that ward on my own with like not even a window and just with Harlow. And obviously that's my first child. Like that's so precious.
That would have been such an epic
and I looked forward to this my whole life, you know. And I had a private midwife, Emily Bonn from Mama Midwife. She's incredible. My whole pregnancy. Yeah, Em's amazing. And she really understands my mental health. She always has. She's known me forever and been my other best friend, Sally's best friend. So Em knows me incredibly well. We saw her for all of our appointments. So she was meant to be present at my birth.
Yeah.
And then I had Dr. Jessica Klein, an obstetrician who specialises in high-risk pregnancies of mental health. Neither of them got to be pregnant at my birth because of my COVID. So I was already so anxious going into that environment, thinking, what the hell? And so then...
Did you think about this before? Like...
No. Could I have got COVID? No.
No, just the fact of like nobody... Like when you obviously fell pregnant, were you thinking like when... was it when you fell pregnant, was COVID a thing?
Yes.
Yeah, so you obviously didn't think about like once you had the baby and all the COVID restrictions and all this.
No, I didn't think about that, but I thought about my mental health the whole way through.
Yeah.
So like I got an obstetrician, I got a midwife who specialised in women with mental health in pregnancy, because they say that after you give birth, there's this thing called like the 3-day blues, where obviously your body goes from like having, 10 times more of an intense of a period with all these hormones that you've been carrying for 9 months now gone. So you have this huge significant hormonal drop, which leads to your dopamine and your serotonin dropping significantly, which therefore can put you into a really bad depressive state.
Yeah.
So I knew that could be something for me that could perhaps trigger postnatal depression or put me in a state. So I instilled these people my whole way through to make sure that I was given the support to cope with those things, only to be told, they can't be present at my birth and I can have absolutely no visitors.
So you're freaking the fuck out.
Of course. My mum made me spaghetti bolognese, my comfort food. And I was like, cool. Adam had to leave and I was like, hey, could someone heat up my pasta? They were like, nah, nothing that leaves the room can come back into it because of COVID. So they couldn't even heat up my food.
Did you ever think about having a home pregnancy?
Yeah, but I was high risk.
Because
with the
of having a stroke and stuff.
Yeah, so the risk of stroke, I didn't have a stroke, God bless. But preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, low fetal weight, Harlow was transverse, he had his cord wrapped around his throat twice, like everything about my pregnancy was high risk, plus having bipolar, so there was not really the option of me of having a home birth. Otherwise I would have loved one.
What was it like while you were pregnant? Were your emotions all over the joint? You were crazy, or did you deal with it well?
I think I dealt with it quite well because I had that ongoing support. Like there's a thing called Gidget House, which is a psychiatrist specifically for pregnancy. So I was seeing them every Friday just via Zoom, and then I'd speak to Emily, and I'm very lucky that she's also my friend, via text every night. I had a beautiful naturopath, Erin Reed, from Alpine Natural Health, who put me on like every supplement. So I guess I kind of lined up my ducks to make sure I've got a really immense support system. And Adam's mum, as well as my mum, I think, I just confided in them about every thought, every emotion that I experienced. So I had a lot of people around me who were like, you're okay,
Yeah, you're going to get through this.
Yeah, you can do it.
Did it have any impact on your business?
Yeah, I feel like that's, again, I'm very thankful Lauren, and as well as Mia, who worked for me ad hocly. That both of them would be like, I'd go to work and Lauren would be like, go home. And I'd be like, why? She'd be like, go home, you don't look really good today. You're like, you look like you've got nothing to give. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't, And she'd be like, I've got this, you can go. And I was
amazing.
Like, okay, yeah. And I'd get there and she'd be like, why are you here? And I'd be like, I just thought I should come. Like, it's my business, I should show up, And she'd be like, stop being stupid. Like, go home, you look like shit. And I'd be like, yeah, I feel like shit. She'd be like, go.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for that.
Yes, but I don't feel as though it affected it in a way that was overly hard to overcome. Obviously, I quietened down a bit. Like when you're less present on social media and you're not hustling every day, day in, day out, like, doing giveaways, doing tags, doing shares, promoting, boosting posts.
Man, Instagram takes up a lot of goddamn time.
Oh my God, Instagram is exhausting.
I just, honestly, even from me starting this podcast, I've never been a person that's dove into Instagram. Like, I've sort of always just been, I like putting on there, I like the fact that I can look back in 20 years and I can look at all my memories. That's pretty much that. That's what I like.
It's an archive.
And so even if I lose my phone, I lose all my photos, at least I've got
an archive.
Like an archive of all the stuff that I got. And then since I started the podcast, it's been the first time that I've had to sort of like post every day and like make content and do all this shit. And I'm like, this fucking takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, and from normal, like, say after work, I would normally work, train, and then I got to come home, make dinner. And then after that, it would normally be my hour or two of chill time every night. And now that is consumed with me having to go through my podcast and literally repeat watching them 1,000 times just to find one
Snippet.
minute, one little clip. I'm like, it fucking takes ages. And not only that, because I'm not very tech savvy, like it takes me a while to, like, I have bought an app and I like I've got a pretty easy way of doing it now, but it still takes me a lot of time. So that's why, because I'm not making any money of this or anything, like I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. You know what I mean? Like I'm sort of just doing this for the enjoyment of doing it and meeting the people and letting them tell their story and promoting local businesses and stuff like that. But now, just even from doing it a couple of times, I'm like, all right, I'm willing to spend a little bit of money on it now. So like in the future, I'm probably going to get busy to I was listening to his packages. Just because he's one of my best homies, like we'll just sort something out. I'll just get him to do it because he's a wizard with all that stuff. He can do it so quick. Not only that, I can give him a little bit extra work and then that takes all the pressure off me. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's a win-win situation. But yeah, it does take up a lot of time. Like I never looked at my follower account. I never cared on Jodie Hagedorn, you know. I was like, so be it. But on Meta, I'm like, why isn't it growing? Like, look at this business who started way after me. Why do they have this many? How can I get more followers? How can I grow it, you know? What year did Meta start? 2020. Yeah, okay. So it's been 2 years and you've got a pretty large following for those 2 years. Did it just boost off at the start now? I feel like it did. Do you have like you still got like a steady growth or is it sort of just a little bit stagnant? Or it's a bit slower than it should be. I feel like, you know, I do introduce new products and I introduce new fragrances, but, you know, maybe I do need to switch it up or, do more reels. It's hard to know. Yeah, it's hard to know what people want. It's one of those things that one of the first podcasts I done, Brett Jordan, he said it's a great thing to keep throwing shit at the wall until something sticks. Yeah. And yeah, it's so true. Just like you just got to keep trying new things because you might literally have nothing, just one thing, boom. Yes, exactly right. This is why my girlfriend said this to me the other day. She was like, you know, every time you post a photo, instead make it a reel. Yeah. Act like it was your story, you know, and then you'll find that slowly by slowly you'll just blow up because it just happens. Like you get engagement, you get higher content. But I feel as though my customer base is very loyal. On my statistics, over 56% are returning customers every month. Mm-hmm. For example, this month I had one woman spend $1,200 with me just this month. That's a lot of money on candles with one business in a month. Absolutely. And she does that month in, month out. Yeah, that's crazy. And I'm like, how big's your house? Like, what are you doing? But then I'm like, well, this is true. I have 19 in one room, you know. Do you have any engagement with any of your clients? Like I messaged her and I was like, what's your Instagram? Like I need to send you something. Who are you? You know? And she was like, oh, here. And I followed her. She's like 92 followers. She's just, you know, a mum. She's gorgeous. It lives in Elwood. And I was like, oh. And she was like, your candles are the best fragrances I've ever smelled. I was like, wow, thank you. You know? That's what makes it all worth it, huh? It makes me sad sometimes because, not sad, I don't know if that's the right word, but sometimes I feel like if I had the appropriate audience, like let's say for example some other businesses, you know, they have 100,000 reach and they might get engagement of, you know, 10,000 visitors on their Shopify per month. I feel like if I could give my product to that many people, it would get that much respect. And I'm not being biased, I'm not being up myself. I feel like I have extremely high taste. You know, if you see my personal fragrance library, it's very expensive. It's very particular. It's very high end. So are my fragrances. They're not simple blends. It's not like I do, you know, like Lytra and Guavi. No offense to anyone who does. How do you even come up with this shit? Like, how do you make a fragrance? Like, what the fuck? Well, you just start with notes and you start with bases. So like, you know, for example, like me, you know, so weird. I'll be like, oh, I really love like, you know, a strong oud base. And then I really like notes of like amber and vanilla. But I can smell someone's fragrance on them and I can go, oh, you're wearing so-and-so. That's got beautiful notes of, you know, chaperie. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, but I've done that my whole life. Since I was 5 or 6, my mum used to take me to shops on Chapel Street and take me to fragrance stores. And I'd like smell like Agent Provocateur. And I remember being maybe 7 or 9 and having $200 and $300 fragrances and knowing what people were wearing in a room when I was a little girl. Yeah.
So
That's cool.
it's just, I guess it's
Just
your
always been a
nose.
thing.
Yeah, and people have a nose or they don't have a nose. Whereas like I can smell a smell and detect what fragrances are in
You're like
that
a sniffer
smell.
dog.
Yeah, there you go. A cadaver that can smell blood.
Just going around just sniffing everyone.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
she smells good. Oh, what are you wearing?
Yeah, and they say that memory is the strongest correlation to scent. So if you remember someone, you're most likely to remember their smell.
Is this one of those? Is your sense of smell obviously is very strong, or like
Very sensitive.
yeah, sensitive? That's the word. Because it's usually probably the least used sense that most people use, and it's obviously, like you said, it's very sensitive for yourself.
Very, yeah.
It's strange, but you've obviously used it to your advantage and doing what you're doing now.
Yeah. It's funny, like I didn't know, but you know when you can feel someone standing too close to you?
Yeah.
You can't see them, but you know when someone's close to you. That
Or if
they say
someone,
that's
like-
because you can smell them.
Or if I was about to say, like, sometimes you can feel like when people are looking at you.
But
as
that's
well.
another perception humans have. That's actually got a word for that, where we have a perceived concept where in part of our cornea, we can actually detect when someone's looking at us. But again, the same, if someone's near you and you feel someone, it's not actually from presence, it's from smell.
Yeah,
And they say to create the smell of human, you have to include certain molecules of feces, because obviously we can actually smell that on somebody else.
Yeah.
But we're just, it's not odor to us because it's in minute amounts, which is very interesting when you actually learn about perfume like that. But yeah, you balance a composition, and to me it's like writing, it's like music. You find the notes and you find the way in which it strings together to make something beautiful.
It's pretty crazy. I've honestly, this is completely going down a different route, but like my nose is completely destroyed from drug abuse. So I've
Really?
Yeah.
You think it's desensitized because of that?
I know for a fact that I've got a really bad sense of smell since, I know that my smell used to be completely normal, and I know now that my whole nose is just destroyed, and I've got bad habits. I've got bad sniffing habits still to this day from drug abuse.
Like you just go...
Just like, I'm like, just like, and not even that, like, I get like urges to do it. And
Okay.
I don't have any snot in my nose or anything. Like, still to this day, like, it's bad.
Isn't it profound how our body has memory? There's a very interesting book you should read. It's called The Body Keeps Score.
Yeah.
And it's everything that you ever do and everything that you ever consume stores somewhere
Yeah.
in one part of your body. And it's about unstoring that. So that habit and that behaviour has
Yeah.
obviously stored somewhere. It's very interesting.
It's crazy, but I hate it, and I constantly tell myself to stop doing it. But it's one of those things that I don't even realize I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
So like, I'll just be sitting there like watching TV. I'll be like, and my housemate will be like, "Shut the fuck up!" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Stop sniffing, cunt." And I'll be like, "Oh, I didn't even fucking realize I was doing it."
Yeah.
But that's honestly like, I try to stop. I hate that I do it, and not only, it reminds me of fucked up times, but. I also as well, you sort of touched on before that you have been seeing a therapist, and that's like a big, I really want to see one. I've never done it before, but I would love to do it because I've got some underlying issues I'd like to get to the bottom of.
Well, what do you feel like they are? Because it's funny, before you said, I'm so grateful I've never experienced any depression, anxiety, anything, but then you said, I'm a very angry person. And then you said, I'd love therapy. And then you said, I don't know, I've just got all this anger. So it's weird because it's like you diagnosed yourself as saying, I'm so grateful I've never had a problem. And then the other part of you is like, I'm angry. And to me, anger is a very big emotion. I'm rarely angry.
I don't know. I think I sort of got it off my dad a little bit because I'm just very similar to my father in a lot of ways. It's weird when you grow up and you're just like...
Yeah, the apple does not fall far from the tree.
Yeah, but you're just like... I don't like a lot of behaviours and a lot of things that my father does. Mm-hmm. And then when I started growing up, I was like, oh, I'm becoming him. And then I was like, I don't want to say I don't like my father.
But how can I change these behaviours?
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to be like that. And I know for a fact that my dad, it was like one of those things just when I was young. If I want to ask for anything of my parents, always go to mum, because if you ask dad, dad's going to say no. Even if, no matter what it is, dad's going to say no straight away. he might come back an hour later and be like, yeah, I'll do that, or I'll get that, or
Was it an authoritative thing?
No, it was just, I don't even know. It's just him being a negative person. It's just like they don't know their emotion. I don't know.
That's a very strong sentence too. A lot of people don't know their emotion.
Yeah.
And I think it's very true. People say, emotion is energy in motion.
Yeah.
So if you don't let it flow through you, it gets stuck somewhere.
My dad just
and
completely reacts off emotion. And that's what I'm saying. Like, just our generation has grown as humans.
To be self-aware.
Yeah, to be self-aware and to just be like, yeah, we can, not only that we know what we should get better at and stuff. And my parents are sort of stuck in their ways, you know what I mean? But
which is sad.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I'm always drilling my parents to like just certain things, even just to be physically fit. Like I know, I want my parents to. They've just retired, and now I'm like, what are you going to do now? I'm like, I'm just going to fucking sit at home and do fuck all the time. I'm like, you guys need to be fit. I'm like, I want you guys to live a healthy, long life for the rest of your life.
And you haven't even had children yet. Is that something you want?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you want them to be around for that, You want them to be fit for that. You want them to be able to play with your children and be present and 100%. Have stories.
I'm from a big family, so I know that obviously my parents would love me to have kids and they'd love to meet my kids, but it's definitely not. I'm one of 5 and I've got 2. I've already got 6 nieces and nephews.
How cute.
Yeah. But that was obviously going off. But I was also saying about like my dad's a very negative person in general, and I think I get that from him. He's also can get angry as well, which I also get. But I fucking love smoking weed so much, and it helps me so much. It helps me so much.
I could never.
Yeah,
I've tried it twice.
Yeah,
and it was the worst thing I've ever done.
It's so fucking weird how some people I know for a fact.
Was it you on Busy saying it unlocks your subconscious? So if you've got these problems, you smoke it and it comes straight out. I promise you not. I literally had 2 drags of a joint and I was like, I'm going to die. Yeah. I'm going to fucking die. I was like, I need to leave. Like, oh my God, I hate my life. Everyone hates me, I could not cope. And I was like, never again.
Yeah, that's why it's the complete opposite for me. But it's so weird. Like, say for example, with boxing and stuff, I fucking love doing that in a sober state of mind. As soon as I get stoned, I'm a pussy ass bitch. Like, I'm a bitch. Like, even when it comes to like drive in my business and everything, I'm scared of everything. It just makes me so vulnerable, you know what I mean?
Which is nice.
Yeah, it is nice. And it makes me like really like second guess like a lot of things that I do, because like I have my routine and then I get high at the end of the night and I have all these emotions and stuff. But like, just say for example, like I want to have a fight at the end of the year, and when I'm sober, I'm like, I'll destroy every cunt. But when I get stoned, I'm like, you can't do that. Not you can't do that. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, you're not a fighter. I'm like, you're a lover. I'm like, you don't want to fight anyone.
How funny.
I'm like so scared.
Such a paradox.
Yeah, I'm so
scared. But you love it so much.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, that's what I mean. When I'm sober, it's like an outlet. It's like.
So which personality did you prefer?
But that's why I love both. I love being.
So you'd love to find maybe therapy to therefore.
I know. No, therapy would be more so a relationship thing. I'd like to. I've got commitment issues.
Yep.
I've got serious.
I had those seriously to jobs, to people, to everything.
Yeah.
That's why when I met Adam, I was so baffled.
I would love to. I just love to speak to a therapist just to see what the fuck they got to say about me, and like just to like. I'm sure that they would explain a lot of things to me and make me understand a lot better about a lot of things that I'm going through. Mm-hmm. But especially when it comes to, I've never been able to commit 100% to a relationship. I honestly feel sorry for every girl. Every girlfriend I've had, I've been better and better. Like, I've learned things and I've been better at things. But
comes with age.
I feel sorry for every girlfriend that I've ever wanted, because I was never 100% committed to any of them.
Yeah. I felt
so sad. And now I'm at the point where I've nearly even given up of even trying to look for love. Because I know that if I did, I'd be wasting someone's time.
Well, it's hard. You do need to go to therapy now. But I feel like you have to accept that and then work through that, because I guess before Adam, I was seeing someone, he was so beautiful. We're still great friends to this day, but we weren't in love. We were just friends, And I guess, I was like living with him. He had a beautiful house up in Cockatoo, and we would have like dinners together, and we had this awesome relationship, which we still have now, but we weren't in love. That feeling of like, oh, I love you. Like there was no commitment there, And then before him, everyone else, I felt the exact same. I had a boyfriend when I was young who I was obsessed with, but that wasn't healthy, And then it's weird. Like I thought I wasn't going to meet anyone. I thought, no one was on my level. And then I guess I just met someone the complete opposite of me, and I had to be so vulnerable. Otherwise I would have never ended up with Adam if I had not have been vulnerable or pursued him or,
but you were straight away on that.
It's weird though. It is true. I guess,
I'm very hectic with my emotions as well though. Like everything that I think is extreme, and like even just when I'm like thinking about things that might happen, I'm always like thinking of the most extreme.
Like what, life or death?
No, more so like I just want something really good to happen. I'm not like, every time I do anything, I'm like, fuck, I hope something mint happens out of this.
Like what?
I don't know. It's hard to explain. I always over exaggerate what's probably going to happen. So I always always end up letting myself down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm always like thinking.
One of my favorite quotes from one of my therapists: if you have no expectations, you are never disappointed, but you're always surprised.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I fucking can't. As soon as there's a little bit of anticipation, I'm already thinking of like the best thing that could happen. And
well, maybe you're just a dreamer.
99% of the time that ain't happening, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love
Why do you feel like you have commitment relationship issues? Like, are your parents still married?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents are fucked up. They're not fucked up, man.
No, everyone's fucked up. I just understand.
Don't know. I just don't know how they're together. I should aspire. I'm so grateful that they're together. I love my parents. They're beautiful people. But sometimes I'm just like, how the fuck are you guys together?
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck do you put up with each other? Like, how the fuck do you guys even like each other?
Yeah.
But they do.
Yes.
Somehow.
Yes.
And I don't know. As well, I despise a lot of things that my parents do as well. I don't want to be anything like my parents. I'm the complete opposite to my parents. Like, I have a lot of the same traits as I was saying before, like internal things that I can't really change. But I don't want to be anything like my parents.
I think the reason why our family often is such a trigger for all of us is because, our family often hold up a mirror.
Yeah.
So when we look at someone so close to us, we either see the things in them that we are so alike or the things that we are nothing alike.
Yeah.
And I think from a young age, I remember my mum would do certain things, and then, the next day I'd be fighting with whoever and I'd say that sentence, and I was like, fuck, like I'm the mirror.
Yeah.
And it's about breaking that, everything just bounces off one another. But there were certain behaviours I'd have and I was like, fuck, I'm so much like my mother. And I hate that, or why did I react like that? Like, that's what my dad would do to me that made me feel like this, or my sister, or, when people are so close to us, inevitably they hold us a mirror.
Yeah.
And that's what they say relationships do, which is why they're so difficult, because when you're with someone all of the time, they either react the same as you and they show you everything you dislike within yourself, which was why you have such resistance to people close to you. Because it's like you go, oh, I despise my friend.
I've always been really close to my friends, or like extremely close to my friends. So like I've got a really tight friend group, and I've always like put them first instead of my relationship, which is weird because I can 100% commit to my friends, but I can't commit to a woman.
Yeah, that's so random. I wonder why, especially because a lot of the time that people have those issues, it's because they come from broken homes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It pretty much ended my last relationship. Literally ended. I can tell you the time that it ended. It lasted maybe 6 months after that, but I know.
Yeah, when it died for you.
Oh no, something just happened. Like, we were in Queenstown in New Zealand, and we were drunk, and we were in the middle of the town, and I remember My parents lived in Queensland. I lived in Melbourne. My family's all over the joint. Some live in Bali, some live Queensland, some live in Melbourne. My sister lived in Perth at the time, and I said to, and she was really close with her family, and like I used to go over there all the time and stuff, and that was cool. Like I loved hanging out with their family, and I was like, I pretty much said something like, I'm always going to put my friends first or something like that. And I remember she just broke down crying, and it was pretty much from that day on, it was never the same. But she didn't understand that my friends were my family.
Yeah, and I would put some of my friends above Adam.
Yeah, and like...
Not necessarily above him, but like if Adam turned around and was said to me, oh, you know, I have a problem with Matt, I'd be like, well, will you fucking get over that? Because like Matt's going nowhere. You know what I mean? Like...
Yeah, but it's like she didn't understand that she had a family at her doorstep, and my parents lived in another state. Like my friends were my family. Like they were my rock. You know what I mean? She didn't get that, and it just never resonated with her. And then after that moment, it was just never the same. Like,
you do have to find someone who accepts you for you.
But I don't think that relationship was ever going to work anyway.
Oh no.
That was a real weird relationship for me, because it was like the first relationship that wasn't. It didn't start from physical looks. Like all my other girlfriends have sort of been like. It's always been like a physical attraction. Mm-hmm. I had like an emotional attraction to this girl. Yeah. Which was weird, which is the first time that had ever happened to me. And it was the first time like I spoke about having children and all this stuff.
So you always feel like all your relationships have been physical?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, maybe that's why.
But I was a drug addict my whole life.
From what age?
16 to 2 years ago.
What drugs?
Everything started. We started smoking weed, and then I started literally as soon as I had speed for the first time. I started dealing it. Literally, probably did speed twice, and then started dealing speed, and didn't stop selling drugs till probably 4 or 5 years ago.
So, again, it's funny that you say you've like never had depression, never had anxiety, super grateful for all these things, but then you had such a severe addiction. What was your addiction from? What were you trying to escape? Because I don't believe...
I wasn't. I was having fun. I just had... it was
literally just vibing.
I was infatuated with getting fucked up. But it was just
how profound.
My dad's side of the family are all drug addicts, thieves, pieces of shit. My mum's side of the family are all like multimillionaires, which is like really fucking weird. Yep. And I've always known, like, I've always had to deal with like my brothers and my uncles like coming around always fucked up and shit. And like it was my parents aren't like that at all. My dad's like fucking anti-drugs, everything. My dad's a bit of alcoholic, but when it comes to drugs, because he's seen what happened to his family, he's so far. He fucking hates it. But I did everything behind my parents' back. They didn't know nothing. I nearly went to jail. Like, I was just fucking complete. I was like, all my relationships, I was lying. I was smoking meth behind their backs. We're going out for dinner, and I'd be like smoking crack in the car before we go in there. I'd be fucking getting fucking like full tearing their family apart and shit. And I was literally just having fun. But I was destroying everything in my path. Yeah.
See, to me, that is very, I don't know, how I think, this is why, I could never date someone like me, because I'd be like, but what is the deeper reason? I'd be like, we have to find where and why that you had perhaps that nonchalant attitude, where it didn't matter to you, where you could destroy things and you didn't have a care, or therefore you lacked commitment, or, those little things. Yeah. There obviously must be triggers or traumas somewhere. Yeah.
This is all just young. I just didn't know anything.
Or maybe you're just simple and it was just fun.
It was. I just loved... I'm literally, since the first time I started working, I used to my boss as a 16-year-old, I left school and I started a bricklaying apprenticeship. My boss was a meth dealer, and a brickie.
Yeah.
I used to work for him, and I wanted to aspire to be this. I thought he was the sickest cunt alive. Like, he used to have like a real nice car, and he used to just like do whatever the fuck he wants. Just get fucked up where he wants. Just fucking do skids everywhere in his car. Like, I just thought he was awesome. And then I literally became that dude. Well, he was 24 when I started working for him. By the time I was 24, I was him.
So weird. I just don't perceive you like this. I just don't. I just think you're so vulnerable and so sweet.
Yeah.
And every encounter I've had with you is like so beautiful and so sweet and so like deep, and you're so kind and so compassionate and so vulnerable. And then when you're like, no, I thought that was like the man, I'm like, that's so random, because I just don't see you in that light. From the day I met you, I was like, oh my God, I love Louis. If I wasn't dating Adam, I would date Louis. Like, I just thought you were so beautiful.
Thank you.
And soft and vulnerable and intelligent. And then when you're like, nah, that was like my idol, I'm like, that's so weird. I just can't picture that for you. It doesn't correlate.
It's just like growing up as a boy, like we were talking about before, just things weren't spoken about. I was literally the epitome of, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I guess Adam was like that too. He always says to me, sometimes things don't have a deeper meaning. It just is what it is. I literally had some fucking sick weekends. I'm like, didn't you like ruin your life? He's like, yeah, but it was fun.
I used to literally give my boss paid me in meth, because I was like, I don't want my paycheck, I just want meth. So I was getting $300 a week, and I'd be like, just give me $300 worth of meth.
Yeah.
And then I had fake red plates, and I'd steal petrol once a week and do petrol runners. And I would just eat. I was still living at home. I would just eat food at home, smoke meth, and fucking smoke bongs.
I can just not picture you like that. Do you know what I mean? But it's so weird. I can't picture. I don't know. I guess maybe that's the beauty of growth. Like, a lot of people I know close to me who have done things like that, I just can't see them in that light.
Yeah.
But maybe that's because we're no longer the people who we used to be. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see myself as sick anymore, ever. Yeah. It's like when I think about the things that I once did when I was in States, I would never be unkind. You know, I used to be quite a bitch growing up. I was mean, I was cruel, and I was like, I bullied people at times. And I'm like, I would never do that. I have so much compassion and empathy. Yeah. I could never imagine even raising my voice at someone now and telling them to shut up. I just wouldn't. I just don't have it in me anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. Life is interesting.
Yeah, 100%. And just now, before I've been through it's so crazy, like where I'm at in my life right now. I went through all of that stuff, and it got to the point, for most people they'd say rock bottom, but even when I was at rock bottom, I didn't give a fuck. The hardest point was when my lawyer was like, you're going to jail, bro. And I was like, still even then I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm like, I'm not going to stop. I didn't stop selling, but I had feelings towards my parents. So I knew my dad would kill me, so I didn't tell him. But I told my mum, and I told my mum to come to court. I didn't even tell her. I was just like, Mum, I need you to come and court with me.
Yeah.
I think I'm in trouble.
That's why I love mums. Mums always go, don't they?
And Mum didn't even know what she was coming into. And then they came in, and then they read my
brief.
No, they read my rap sheet out. So. Oh,
okay.
They're like, he's had assault charges, drug trafficking charges, all these not drink driving, just like reckless driving, just like all this shit. And I remember just looking, that was like a moment. I remember looking at Mum while she was reading it, and she was crying, and I was like, this is fucked.
Yeah.
And I was like...
I think of Harlow and my heart breaks. I'm like, oh my God, one day.
My mum thought I was a fucking saint.
But I know, and like one day. But I hope I'm not that naive. That's the only thing I'm grateful for. I don't think I'll be this naive, because I've seen it. I've been through it. I've watched people I love.
My mum didn't go through that though.
Exactly right.
My mum was like, I've had one drag of a marijuana cigarette. As soon as she said marijuana cigarette, I was like, yeah.
Sweetie. So I do hope now that I'll see the warning signs in Harlow, and I'll know better, and I won't let him. I will never be that naive, I hope. Because imagine.
I'll tell you what's really hard as well for tradies, and I'm sure AJ goes through the same. Working as a concreter or a brickie, you work with deros.
Yes.
You work with fucking pieces of shit. And that was a big factor of me starting my own business, is because I was like, I hate every cunt I work with. All of you guys suck. But I knew that I was good enough in my trade that I could go out and start my own thing, and I literally just done it.
Yes.
But even starting my business, it was a fucked up situation. Everything in my life that I've done has been the most fucked up way. So how I started my business as a bricklayer was, I was working for someone. I was fucking dealing meth at the time. I stopped working. I literally only went to work because I've always had something inside of me that's known the greater good. So whenever there's been something I've gone too far down a rabbit hole, I've been able to pull myself out of it. Nobody's ever helped me, because when we were doing that shit, all my friends were doing it. They didn't give a fuck how bad I was. They were just like doing it with me, you know what I mean? But when I started my business, this dude that I'd worked with previously, it's just a co-worker, his dad died and he got like a
payout?
Yeah.
Inheritance?
An inheritance. And he went and he was smoking meth as well, and he went and bought all bricky gear, like all the tools to start enough to start a thing. And he's like, he reached out to me and was like, you've got the knowledge, I've got the gear, do you want to start a business? We'll go 50-50. And then I was like, fuck yes. I was like, let's do this. And then we started doing it. We did like 2 jobs, and then I remember him just being fucked up one day, and we're on the scaffold, and I was just fucking losing my shit at him, and I was like, I'm gonna kill this little cunt. And we started arguing about something, and I remember we were on scaffold, so we're probably 1.5 meters off the ground, and I just fucking pushed this cunt straight off the scaffold, and then just jumped off and just like jumped on top of him, and I was just like on top of him, like, I'm gonna kill you, cunt. And then I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. Well, I still fucked him up just from pushing him off the scaffold, like it was dog ass. And then straight after that, I called the builder. I was like, this cunt's gonna fuck everything up. When he's fucked it up, call me, I'll come and fix it for you. And then, because we'd done 2 jobs then, in that 2 jobs, I'd already bought all my own shit. As soon as I got a little bit of profit, I bought my own stuff. Yeah. And then literally 2 weeks later, this Asian dude, the builder, he called me. He's like, Brandon's fucked everything. Can you come do it? Can you come fix it? And then that's how my business started. Wow.
How funny. Isn't life profound though?
Yeah.
But you saw that from the first week.
Yeah.
But you went into it anyway.
Oh. No, I thought it was
You thought it was going to be good?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be good.
But then the second job, it wasn't?
No, it's just, we were just arguing.
Yeah, okay.
But he got me in because he knew what I knew. I knew what was going on.
Yeah, of course.
But then he would fucking second guess everything I'm doing.
Yeah, so you're like, I'm not going to report to you when I'm making the decisions. It's one or the other.
Yeah, but I was also like selling him gear and shit as well. I was like,
so it was very
stupid
messy.
as fuck. It was just a bad situation. Yeah.
And you still work for yourself now?
Yeah.
Could you work for someone else?
I have. When I moved up to Queensland, because I've always been a dodgy motherfucker. Everything I've done in my whole life has been dodgy, scamming people, like scamming the government, just like doing things. So all through COVID, from having a small business, I'm not joking, I probably got over 100 grand from the government. And then when I moved up to Queensland, because I'd got all that money, I was only doing cashies. So it looked like that my business had
depreciated a lot.
Yeah, depreciated over 50%, when really I was booming. And I was just doing cashies though. So I was making money on the side and getting payments every week, and I was getting grants. And so I was making mint money. And then I came up to Queensland. So I had but to get my house, I had to either have 2 years of tax returns, but my 2 years of tax returns would probably look like I made 20 grand, 40 grand for 2 years, because I was doing cashies. I'd do like a job every now and then just so I've got money in my business account. And then I just went and worked for someone else for probably 6 months. And then as soon as I got my house...
Oh, and to get pay slips and to get them books.
I went on wages for 6 months so I could... Because you literally only need 3 months, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Got that, got my house, and then just started my business up again in Queensland, and it's been going well ever since.
Yeah, amazing.
It's
I could never work for anybody else.
absolutely
I still do things every now and then. Like I work for my girlfriend and I work for a few other girls and I do little ad hoc things, but I couldn't work full time for somebody else.
No way. That's why the freedom is everything for me.
Yes.
I'm one of those people. I'm the laziest motherfucker, but once you get my train going, I ain't stopping. Like I'll work till midnight. I'll work till dark. But getting me out of bed is the thing. So like sometimes I might not start work till 9 o'clock. So I'm like, fuck, I got to work till dark tonight.
Yeah.
But I'll do it.
Same. I don't really go to work before about 10.
Yeah. Well,
I like my morning.
obviously tradies are early start, and especially in Queensland because the days are short. Everyone starts at 6:30 up there.
Yeah.
So that means you got to get up at 6. And you got to go, and I'm just like getting out of bed. I'm just like every morning as well. Dude, my cat is fucking obsessed with me. Like
that's the same cat you had from here, yeah?
Yeah.
You're the one I met, yeah.
He's absolutely fucking obsessed with me. So if I'm sitting down, he just has to be on top of me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's fucking annoying. Like, I'm just like, get the fuck off. But I've like Googled it and shit, and supposedly I should be thankful.
Yeah, that he chooses you, respects you.
I love him.
Comes to you.
95% of the time, I'm like, fuck yeah, puss. Like,
yeah,
rub it up and shit. But every single morning, I sleep on my side.
Yes.
And he will just sleep here.
Yes.
And I'm just like, it's the fucking most uncomfortable spot for me. And I'm just like, fuck off. And he'll do it because he knows as soon as I get up, he's going to get fed.
Yes.
So I'll just be like sleeping. He'll just sleep on the side of me there. And I'm just like, I hate you so much. And I'm like, as soon as I'll like grab him and I'll try to like pull him to the side and he'll just be like, run off. I'm like, you fucking prick. And then like 2 seconds later, he'll run back up and just run, sleep on my side. I'm like, what the fuck, cunt?
Yes.
Like, fuck off.
But it's funny, you don't ever own them. They own you.
That's what I sort of like about cats. And
that's what I've always liked about cats.
And that's why I've never had a dog as well, because I got those commitment issues. And not only that,
your cats are independent.
My cat is fucking. I can leave my cat's just chilling by itself this weekend. Like my brother's. My brother's gone and feed it today.
Yes.
As long as it's got food.
Yeah,
it's got
chill.
It's got a little cat flap. It'll fucking just go sleep in my bed or whatever.
Yes.
Like go sleep in Tyrone or LB's bed or whatever. Just sleeps wherever the fuck it wants. And it literally does not need to be looked after.
No.
It doesn't need me. Yes. It just needs food.
They say that cats and horses are great for people who lack commitment.
Yeah, that's why. But I fucking love my cat. I got he was a crack baby. Like, I bought him just because I was fucked up with crack. I was like, oh, my friend had a kitten, so I was like, fuck yeah, I'll get one of them. Fucking love cats. Yeah. But now he's my homie G.
Of course, I'm very codependent on my dogs.
Yeah, but that's why I like the fact that just say like if we're going out for dinner, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm going to come home. Is that little fucker going to destroy the joint? Yeah. How are your dog? Have your dogs? They seem pretty chill.
No, babies never ate like a shoe or
especially
anything in the house.
If you got fucking some expensive shoes on the ground, there's a little fucker eating them.
Never. I'm blessed. And then Boo, I guess, has followed in her suit. We're just toilet training Boo, but besides that, like nothing has been eaten or destroyed. We're very lucky, but they are a small breed. Like it's hard, I see some people's stories.
He looks very unique. Like his whole
both girls.
Sorry.
Baby with her blue eyes.
Yeah, just even the patterns on her. Like, she's very unique. Where did you find her?
She's from a breeder called Unique, French Bulldogs. How funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a blue lilac merle with 2 blue eyes. She's very, very uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you find her?
Adam did. So we found the breeder. We went up there and the dog we went to look at, there was a blue one, kind of like what Boo is. Then there was another one and Adam was like, oh, look, let that one out. He was like, open the door. And the lady went to the toilet. He was like, open the door. So open the door and let all these puppies out. And Adam said it was like a movie, like laid down on the ground. There was like all these dogs running all over him. And she came back out and she was like, oh, they're not meant to be out. We were like, oh, sorry. Like, we're supposed to look at them. And she was like, they're not for sale. Like, they are breeding dogs.
No, I want that one.
And we were like, no. And Adam was like, yeah, I never wanted to marry Jodie because she's got brown eyes. I just always wanted her to have blue eyes. So, like, if I get a dog with blue eyes, I'll be happy. And she thought that was really funny for whatever reason. And then she ended up negotiating with us and offering us baby. And then we got baby.
Was that her? Oh, that was her
dog
breeding
to keep her breeding. Yeah.
So now she had to find another one.
Yeah, she's got different ones.
She's the baby, one of the babies.
Yeah, so she's got different ones.
Have you got?
To have her, we had to get her desexed.
I was about to say
She wouldn't sell it to us, not.
Yeah, that's what happened with Busy. I'm pretty sure they had to sign a contract saying that
They won't upbreed.
They wouldn't reproduce pretty much.
Yeah.
But we're going completely off topic now. But what's your pretty much your end goal for Meta? Like, what's
I would love to be in Mecca.
Yeah.
That's truly my goal. Mecca is like my holy grail. You know what Mecca is?
No, explain
it's like a beauty store. It's owned by an Australian woman. It stocks like, like Tom Ford, NARS, kind of like the higher end of every successful fragrance house in the world.
Yeah.
Is stocked in Mecca. So that would be my goal, eventually, to create probably a library of 3 signature actual fragrances. I want to go towards mod perfumery and do like a his, a her, and then a unisex fragrance, and start with that as a library, and then really focus on my fragrance.
And so do you design and create everything that's in
majority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you where do you get your inspiration from? Like,
I guess other brands, homeware stores, nature. I like a lot of raw colours, fossils, textures. I like things that are unique, soft, textured. Pretty much everything I make is textured.
Yeah. Have you got like a you said you've got a studio or factory?
Yeah, in Hallam.
Is that where you make everything?
Yeah.
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 And do you actually make everything in-house, or do you import things? Or?
Pretty much. Well, some of our things are imported. So our bases, some of our vessels, we get them made by different suppliers. Different artists make actually our vessels, and we have different suppliers for glass. We don't obviously make our wax. We blend our fragrances. We get our notes. So we make the candle physically ourselves. Like, we blend our fragrance, blend our wax, change the temperature, pour them, wax the tops, we trim them, and then we wrap them. And then we make our sealing paper, which is like paper, recycled books, paper mache, and then you add the seedlings, press them, cut them, and then you grow your own plants.
Yeah, the plant thing is so cool.
Yeah.
Have you got some of them in the house that you've grown?
No.
Oh.
No. I think just maybe because I've been here so recently.
What do you mean?
Well, we've only been here like 6 months. I don't think I've come home and planted a new one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas I used to have quite a few.
You haven't run out of any candles yet?
No, I have.
Yeah.
But I just take them back and keep refilling them.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We offer refills.
Oh, okay.
So, like, if you don't want to grow a plant and you love candles, you just send it back to us.
Yeah, okay.
And then it's 40% off the recommended retail price, and we'll refill it for you.
Is that something that you've advertised? Because
I post it on my stories. A lot of people don't know about it, as many people as I should, but I post it on my stories. And then, people just pay their shipping, and then we just charge 40% off.
What? So they've got to actually obviously send their base back, and then you just fill it and then send it back to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Obviously at a lower cost.
Yeah, 40% off.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so like if that was $150, like this white one here, they would send that back to me. Once it's emptied, I'd clean it, refill it, and send it back to them, and it might cost them $80.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm sure people should definitely know that.
Yeah.
Especially with all these repeat customers you
and
get.
sustainability and everything like that. Yeah.
You said something on there, you're using like recycled something on there. Is it?
So in our packaging, our stuffing is books.
Oh,
so I get all recycled books. And then we just rip those up, scrunch those all together, and use that as our stuffing instead of like generic tissue paper. So that's recycled. Again, that comes back to my love with words.
What do you mean stuffing?
So like if you're shipping something, I was going to show you an example, but like when you ship something, you know how like it comes in bubble wrap.
Paper, yeah.
Yeah, instead we just use book paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And again, that comes back to my love with words and with literature. So every fragrance is named after an author or a book.
Yeah.
So like 1984 Noir is by 1984 George Orwell's, or Coeur de Floral is Rupert Kerr, which is a beautiful poet. Or, there'll be like Hunter de Wolf, which will be like Hunter S. Thompson, and books that I feel have like influenced me and changed me as a person. Yeah. I've named my fragrances after.
That's so interesting. I've never I can't even really say that I've really read a book about poetry or anything.
I read poetry constantly.
Have you got a favourite poem?
I don't know.
Do you read
Allan
AJ poems? Love poems?
No, he doesn't listen to me. I read them to Harlow.
He doesn't give a damn.
Now I've got a baby. I'm like, wow. I love Edgar Allan Poe. I love, Rupert Kerr. I love Oscar Wilde. But yeah, I have a very, very, very broad taste in music and in poetry.
Yeah.
I love words.
Yeah, what type of music do you listen to?
I listen to classical a lot.
Yeah.
Probably most days I have classical on constantly when I'm home.
It's relaxing to you?
I just love classical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love symphonies and compositions and the emotion of it. And then I listen to a lot of probably acoustic. Like my
so
favorite.
Intriguing, so different.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm such a plain Jane motherfucker.
Like what? What do you listen to?
Rap. No,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't vibe.
I do like most things. I'm not going to say that I like classical because I don't. Or I wouldn't.
Have you tried?
I haven't even really listened to it.
I will send you a playlist.
But if I, like, from just thinking about it right now, I'd be like, I don't like it. But I'm sure there probably would be some things that I do like, because I do actually like everything. I'm very broad. Like, I like screamo, I like rap.
I love screamo. Love screamo. I love Carpathian Parkway, Johnny Craig.
Yeah, but mainly hip hop for me.
See, I don't vibe hip hop.
And now, I swear, it's just gotten even worse that I hate. It's like, before I met my housemate, actually, I've known him my whole life, but there was like
before I lived?
No, it was just like a big story. Like, we stopped hanging out for a long time. Then we started hanging out again, and he loves mumble rap, which is like just black rappers that just talk absolute garbage, but it's got good beats and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And I hated it just because they talk garbage.
Yeah.
And then I started like hanging out with him again, and he used to play it all the time, and I'm like, now I fucking listen to it all the time, and I'm like, I fucking love this shit, but I'm like, I hate that I love it.
To the Game's song about rapping Eminem, dissing Eminem, wasn't he?
Like the 10 minutes song.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is actual trash. I want my 10 minutes back, you know? I was mortified. I was like, this is just such shit. I was like, what the fuck? And like a few people shared it on their stories and they're like, this is lit, like, whoa. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'll check it out, you know? Because I'm very open to most forms of expression.
I do that as well.
And I was literally like, this is literally, I'm offended that this person can release this, and I wonder how much money they fucking made. And I'm sitting in my room. Why can't I release this and make this? Like to the same beat for 10, 12 fucking minutes. I was like, this is literally trash.
Yeah, well, there's each to their own. But
and like when you said mumble rap, like when like I'm like, what?
It's literally.
What did I take from this though?
Yeah, that is the thing that I've always loved. That because like when I grew up, I was always like one that listened to lyrics, and that's why I really liked like back in the day like Eminem and stuff like that, because he had really meaningful like lyrics, and like he's one of those ones that
I love
it's
words
not just
too.
It's not just the beat, like you can actually it's the story
but
behind
Eminem's
it.
music I can relate to, I actually respect, I can listen to, but I cannot listen to that shit.
Yeah, that's why I like storytellers like J Cole as well as a storyteller.
Yes.
But now it's purely just on
like a vibe,
the beat, and just if it sounds good, it doesn't matter what they're saying.
Yeah,
they could be saying the absolute biggest garbage, like I'm eating Macca's for dinner, like, but it's just got a good beat. You know what I mean? But they're literally saying shit.
Mint,
they're literally saying shit like that, but it's just got a mint beat, so you can still like bop to it. You're like,
no, it's just so not me.
Yeah,
I adore classical because I feel like it is so calming. It is so freeing. Again, I feel like it's storytelling. I feel it in my body. I think it is just so talented.
Yeah.
And then probably some acoustic and stuff, but beyond that, I'm not like a person, so it's just so good. Even to do that motion, I feel uncomfortable. I'm just
you're a dancer.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not a gangster. No,
you're unco. You say I'm not a gangster.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm like poised.
Yeah, I can tell that.
Yeah, I'm not a chiller.
You ain't twerking
No,
at the
I've never
club.
chilled. No, I'm never chilled. I wish I was chill, but I'm actually like the polar opposite. I'm like OCD, highly strung.
Yeah. Oh, you are who you are.
Yeah.
Beautiful as it is.
Thank you.
But I reckon we wrap this up.
Cute.
But
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I feel like this has been a therapy session for myself.
Good. I'm here anytime.
No, but thank you so much for
Thank
coming on.
you. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful, and I feel very privileged to be the first woman.
Oh,
Very cute.
I am